Hey guys, this is Gaijin Hunter. In this video I want to go over what armor skills actually do. Like, there's a lot of descriptions in the game that are incredibly vague. They don't tell you the period in which you get a buff, how much the buff is for, and a whole bunch of other stuff as well, even though the game has been getting slightly better over the years. Obviously, since I'm covering all the armor skills in this video, there will be spoilers if you haven't finished the game, so just be aware and okay with it, and let's move on. I am not going to be covering the skills that are self-explanatory. I'm just going to be going through A through Z order of all the ones that I think need more information. For example, take Affinity Sliding. Sliding increases your affinity for a short time, enables skill use. It doesn't tell you how long you have to slide for, it doesn't even tell you how much affinity it increases, and it doesn't tell you for how long. So what this skill actually does is if you slide for 1 second, you'll get plus 30 affinity for the next 15 seconds. This is a great sort of like one little slot skill if you want to just throw it on if you have nothing else better to throw in your set. It's because you'd be surprised, there are some areas where you can get some sliding, and a little bit of extra affinity always helps. This next one is a doozy. This is ammo up. This is for bowguns. It just says it includes the clip size for some ammo, many ammo, and most ammo, but it doesn't actually tell you which. Here is the grid that I made. Ammo up 1 just gives you plus 1 extra on each clip size for normal, pierce, spread, shrapnel level 1, and trank ammo. Ammo 2 is the ones listed here, so the level 2 for the normal, pierce, spread, and shrapnel, slicing ammo, poison, recovery. The 4 elements, excluding dragon, so water, fire, thunder, you'll get it, and ice. Both the shot and the piercing ones, you'll get plus 1, and also sticky ammo level 1. Outside of wyvern ammo, any other type of shot will get plus 1 if you have ammo up 3. So if you want to get an additional shot for sticky ammo 2, you got to go all the way up to 3. As a small bonus to do, have plus 2 for like normal 1 and 2 and pierce, spread, and shrapnel 1, but come on, we're not using those shots anyways. And what they mean by certain shots have thresholds is something like, like cluster bombs. If it has a clip size of 3, it can't go over 3, so no matter how much ammo up you put on it, it's not going to change it, but if it was 2, it'll be increased to 3, and so forth. The next one up is Ballistics. This was called Aim Booster when the game first came out, but they renamed it and they fixed the skill description so that it's accurate. I just want to put it on here just to let you guys know that it does seem like they nerfed the skill. It actually has less distance than it had in the previous video in which I showcased it. It's still a very usable and good skill, it just feels different. So go ahead and try it out in the training room and see for yourself if you want to run it still. This next one, Blast Resistance, this is just a small little nitpick here, but it says that it delays Blast Blight, and what it actually means is that once you get Blast Blight, it will extend the period before it explodes. So when you get Blast Blight, you'll have that little spark on you, and you can evade several times to get rid of it. This will delay that blast. I guess it's just, word salad, it's a little hard to get out, but I wanted to note it. I am going to cheat here for a little bit just because everyone talks about this skill, but this is a weapon rampage skill called Brutal Strike. It says it has a high chance, or has a chance to increase damage with negative affinity attack. What it actually does is you have a 30% chance that instead of doing the normal negative crit, which is only 75% of your attack power, you'll do 150%, so you'll get like 1.5 times. Now, the difference we've seen here is actually not that big. For example, the 250 blue here with the Diablos, if we just say 250 for power, minus 30% affinity, if we were to just run this thing normal without Brutal Strike, it would have an expected power output of about 237, and with Brutal Strike it goes up to 248, but only in theory, because you never know when this thing is going to proc. It might proc on your weakest attack, it might proc on your biggest attack, who knows? So it's definitely not as good as getting rid of the affinity or just boosting up your attack to compensate. The next one is Bubbly Dance. This is a really good skill to have on level 3 if you're going up against Mizutsune. But basically it gives you Bubble Blight small. And you're probably wondering like, okay, I don't get major Bubble Blight, but why do I want regular Bubble Blight? It's because after you do some evasions, you'll get it. And then with it on, it actually gives you like a really small increase in your invulnerability window when you do evades. It's kind of like the in-between of like evasion plus 1 and plus 2. It's really hard to test, so I can't tell which one, but it's not a lot. It does feel significantly weaker, but this goes really good with Resuscitate because you can evade several times, get bubbles, and that counts as an ailment, and that will buff your attack big time. Just know that if you get hit, the bubbles will go away. This is just a quick note on Capture Master and Carving Master. They say no effect when joining mid-quest. It's actually not quite just when you join mid-quest, but also when you put it on mid-quest. So basically, if you go into a quest with Capture Master, I think Great Luck works the same, and Carving Master, and you have it when you start the quest out, and it's a new quest, and you're not jumping into a quest from the middle, you're fine. Like, you'll have the skill activate. But if you try to, you know, cheesily kill a monster, quick go back to camp and change into a set with Carving Master, you're not going to get 2 carves. You gotta, like, it locks in, and the moment you try to change your armor, it'll tell you, hey, you're going to lose some skills, and then you have to agree to it in order to change. So I just wanted to add some little clarification there. Next one up is Counterstrike, which I actually really like this skill a lot. It says it temporarily increases your attack power after being knocked back by a large attack. This lasts for 30 seconds. I don't know why they didn't commit to telling people that, but that's how long it lasts for, which is a little bit longer than temporarily. It's a pretty good buff, so definitely try it out if you're interested. This is just a note for those of you who are new to Monster Hunter, but Critical Boost increases the damage of critical hits, which of course is what Affinity is, and it only applies to physically raw damage, physical damage. It will not increase elementals, so don't expect critical hits to increase the amount of dragging you're doing or anything like that. If you're a veteran or you've played games, you probably already know this, but it's worth noting. The next one is Critical Draw. This is worth noting just because I found the wording a little weird, but this skill got majorly nerfed from previous games where it was 100% for your draw attack, so it was really good in Greatsword. Now it only goes up to 40%, which is not bad, but it's not good either. It's an expensive skill. But it says it increases your affinity for a short time after performing a draw attack. But it's not really a short time. It lasts for only 1 second. So 1 second later, it's gone. So if you try to do a follow-up second attack, you're not going to get a buff. I imagine most of you already knew that because it's called Critical Draw, but the wording is a little weird. Okay, next up is Defense Boost. This honestly was me cheating. There's nothing wrong with the wording here. I just wanted to point out, in case you didn't notice, level 3 is a huge jump from level 2. So if you see people with some extra level 1 slots and they're just putting on a level 3, it's because it's a percentage boost. So 5% plus 10, it's huge. Like if you have 420 defense, it'll bring you up to 451. And if you just went down 1 level, it'll be 430. So yeah, big difference and definitely worth looking into. Next one, I'm going to try to get this a little bit faster, but Diversion. So it says it increases the attention drawn when attacking a monster. This is a little hard to determine. A lot of us have been trying to figure it out. There are times during a hunt where a monster will directly look at you and do like a few attacks at you. That is because you have drawn its Raged. So basically what this is doing is just allowing you to draw hate easier. So you will notice a difference if you're online. You will notice the monster will target you maybe 2 or 3 extra times during a hunt, but not that much more. So it's not quite as strong as like a flat-out taunt, but it definitely does have some effects, and it's very cheap. So worth using if you're interested in monsters coming at you. Okay, next one is Divine Blessing. This says that there's a predetermined chance of reducing the damage you take, and it goes all the way up to 50% damage off, which sounds great, but they don't tell you how much of a chance you got. So it works the same as previous games. There's a 25% chance that this will proc. And I want to note that this does actually stack with both Divine Protection, which I was confused for the longest time. I thought that was the same thing, but it's not. Divine Protection is a song that a Hunting Horn can do, and it's a 1 out of 3, so 33% chance of doing 50% damage reduction. And it also stacks with the Meal Feline Defender, which is great because it's 100% if you eat with the Dango ticket. And that is 25% chance to get 25% reduced. So they can all activate at once, it's rare, but they do stack. Okay, next is Dragonheart. This is the set bonus from Valstrax. I just wanted to note here that this is a special version of Dragon Blight. So all weapons, not just Valstrax, will retain their dragon element in case you are afraid of that. Okay, Dulling Strike, this is another one where it's a rampage skill, not an equipment skill, but also something that a lot of people have been talking about, but this thing is not that good. It's only a 10% chance of dealing 15% additional damage. With this Atlas Hammer at 230 attack, you're talking like a +2 attack overall, if you factor in everything, which is like nothing. So definitely pass up the skill, look at other stuff. Next up is Evade Window. Just so you guys know, regular evades in the game have 4 frames of invincibility, which is 0.13 seconds. So it's pretty tight, but you can get in those perfect evades to not get, stunned by a roar and stuff like that. And each level of evade window will add 1 frame to that, so it will increase your evasion time from 0.13 all the way up to 0.3 seconds. So not huge, but definitely noticeable, especially once you start getting up like 3, 4, and 5. Or like 5 is definitely noticeable, but maybe not as good as you thought it was. This is just a wording theme, but Evade Extender level 1 says that it slightly extends your evasion distance, and as you probably have heard by now, it's not slightly, it's quite significant. So just having level 1 of this is a huge advantage for many weapons, just being able to get out of the way, to get towards monsters faster, so definitely try it out if you haven't already. Next up is the element attack boost ones, like fire attack, ice attack, thunder attack, stuff like that. Just so you know, in every single case, the community has done the numbers and testing, and although it says that elemental attack power has a maximum limit, it does not appear to exist in this version of the game. I think someone has gone up to like 160% of their actual elemental power, and it still didn't cap out. So there's no way to hit the cap, so just tack on as much as you want. Of course, elemental is not like as good, I think, competitively against like raw damage. That has to be said because it's the truth. But the fact that we can hit the limits already does make me think that maybe, you know, maybe they have this in here for future proofing. Maybe the Ultimate Edition or something of this game that I'm assuming is going to be made, maybe that will really bring element into the forefront, which would be really nice. But it's just worth noting, you don't have to worry about this warning. Next up is fire resistance. So I just wanted to note also here, because it doesn't really tell you this in the game very well, I think. If you have plus 20 resistance, which is 20% of the damage you would take from that elemental damage will be reduced. If you have plus 20, you can't get blighted. So if you have like plus 20 in thunder, you won't get thunder blight. It's just a natural thing that happens in the game. And if you hit the food, I think like thunder resistance large is plus 10. So you can work it out and see how many levels of resistance you need. The elemental blights, just as a quick reminder, fire blight does 3 hits to you over a 15-second period, so you take some damage. The number in parentheses is how many evades you have to do to get rid of it. So you can evade 3 times to get rid of it. Thunder blight is a really bad one. For 60 seconds, you're very easy to stun, but you have to do 9 evades to get rid of that. Ice will slow down your bug gauge, water will slow down your stamina, and dragon will make you lose all of your elements and status and stuff that you have in your weapon, so very nasty. Honestly, just use null berries to get rid of it, but it is worth noting that you don't even need to worry about that if you have plus 20 in that resistance. This is another cheating one. I'm sorry, I could not pass up the opportunity, but to let you know that Flinch free, when it says knockbacks, it also means from your teammates. Any move that a teammate does to you doesn't do damage, but it does give you a knockback, or what we would call a flinch. So if you go online, if you put on Flinch free level 1, which is just a 1-slot deco, you will not be flinched by your teammates. So definitely put that on so we can just, you know, not be stressed out. Okay, next up is Focus. It says that increases the fill rate for weapons with gauges and the charge rate for weapons with charge attacks, and it gives you a fill rate and charge times, which is great, but it doesn't tell you exactly what weapons it applies to, so here is the list. So Focus applies obviously to Greatsword for its charge time, Longsword for it increases the buildup of Spirit Gauge, for Dual Blades it increases the rate in which you can build up your Demon Gauge, for Hammer it's charge time, for Gunlance it's charge shelling, Switch Axe it actually helps speed up slash gauge recovery and also the amount that you get when you reload, Charge Blade it'll affect how fast you build up file energy. There's also that sort of like charge up a thing where you charge up like your sword or your shield. It'll speed that up as well. For Light Bowgun, which you'll never use Focus with, it does actually affect the sort of recovery rate for your special ammo, same with Heavy Bowgun. And for Bow, of course, it's used to decrease your charge time as well. This next one actually threw me off at the beginning as well, and in my video I even recommended the wrong skill once. But Geologist level 2, it says allows you to gather 1 extra time from gathering points. It should be a little bit more clear, but what they mean from gathering point is the special gathering points where you can get local items. Those are the ones that are worth points that you deliver. You sort of get them and then you just sort of get points for getting them. If you want stuff like herbs, seeds, and mushrooms and other stuff like that, there's another skill called Botanist, which will give you that. Okay, moving on, we have Good Luck. Just so you know, when you finish a quest in the target rewards and the quest rewards, there's going to be anywhere from 4 to 8 rewards. You're guaranteed to get 4 slots, that's a given. But then the game will do sort of like a lottery behind the scenes, and you have a 22 out of 32, which is, I think it's a 66% chance that you will get a 5th item. And then it rolls again, and then it keeps rolling until it runs out, like with one where you hit no. So you're pretty much just spinning the lottery. Good luck level 1 and 2 basically just guarantees that you're going to get the 5th one, which you had a 66% chance of getting anyways. So I'm not sure if it's really that good. At level 3, you're basically going to be, it's about 50% rate for getting all 8. So it's definitely not bad, it's actually pretty good. And I meant to test this before the video, but I didn't. But I believe for the rampages, it increases the tickets that you get. Obviously, it's not going to affect the monster parts because you fought a lot of different monsters. This is just a small note on the guard up skill. It allows you to guard against ordinarily unblockable attacks. This applies to every level. So if you just want the ability to block through an attack that you normally can't guard, you just need level 1. The rest is just there to reduce the damage that you would take. Next one is Handicraft. This extends the weapon sharpness gauge by 10 units for each level. It says it won't increase it past its maximum, but that's a little vague and hard to understand. Basically, the whole gauge is 350 units. So that's 350 hits that you can do, and you'll run 100% out of sharpness. And those obviously have various levels. You'll have some red, some orange, some yellow, green, blue, white, and stuff like that. Some weapons, like the Narwa ones, already have colored sharpness all the way to the far right of the gauge. So for weapons like that, Handicraft will do nothing. So that's what they're saying here. I figured this is a given, but I wanted to note it just in case. It is also worth noting that some weapons, when you start increasing the sharpness, will reveal new colors, like a blue sharpness may become white. And for some weapons, that doesn't happen. You can go all the way up to Handicraft 5 and it just gives you 50 more units of blue. You kind of just have to look at online guides or just try it out yourself in the menu to see for yourself. A little minor since everyone's going to be running this anyways, but Horn Maestro, it says that it increases your overall performance speed and shockwave damage. If you were curious, it's 10%, so 10% faster on the performance and the chords, and 10% damage increase for shockwave damage. Then we have Hunger Resistance, which is one of the most useless skills in the game. You'll naturally lose 25 units off of your maximum stamina after 7 minutes. So I don't know why you'd really need this skill to make that longer or to negate that. Let's see here. Next up is Item Prolonger. So what this will do will extend the item duration for certain items. It doesn't tell you which ones. They changed it so this no longer applies to sharp or whetstones, so Protective Polish does not get buffed by this anymore. Might and Animate Seeds, Demon and Hardshell Powders, Immunizers, and Dash Juice do last longer from this particular skill. And if you're using Mushroomancer, then Toadstools and Excite Shrooms, which act just like some of the above items, will get enhanced as well. Jump Master is just a junk skill. It gives you Flinch free level 1 when you're in the air only. I don't know why you wouldn't just run Flinch free level 1 and just not get flinched at all. So I don't know why they set this as a very rare decoration. It just seems like a mistake. Moving on, Latent Power. I have a video on this, so you can go ahead and watch that. But basically, it takes 2 minutes and 45 seconds to activate. Then you'll get the effect. And every second of attack animation you do is going to shorten that time or speed it up by 2 times. So you can shorten it down to about 1.5 minutes if you're constantly attacking. 3.0 did fix it. They had it in the patch notes that Dual Blade Demon Mode, which I thought they just flat out didn't support for this, was actually a mistake. So they have fixed it, so you can run this with Dual Blades and also activate Latent Power much faster. Moving on, we have Load Shells. So this will increase the ammo encoding reloading speed. Just so you know, at the end though, it says that it increases the Charge Blaze file capacity. Just so you know, what that means is that when you have that yellow glow, usually when you charge, it'll charge 3 files and not 5 like red. What that'll do will make it so that yellow will charge up 5 files. Kind of a niche skill, but worth noting. Next one we have is Marathon Runner. Just so you know, it says that it slows down stamina depletion for actions with continuously drained stamina. Just wanted to note here that this includes all sorts of stuff like Dual Blades Demon Mode, which will suck stamina out. It'll be slower. For bow, when you're charging the bow, it eats up stamina. That will also go down. And also the hammer, which I can't see why you would run this with hammer, but if you want to, it will decrease the amount of stamina that goes down as you hold up your charge. Then we've got Master Mounter. It just says that it improves your wyvern riding skills, making the gauge fill up easier, increasing the ease of pairing. Just so you know, it's about 20% difference. What that means is when you attack another monster, the gauge that will lead up to the finisher will fill up about 20% faster. This also means that you get less attacks before you enter in that final mode. So this could actually be a bad skill depending on how you like to do wyvern riding. And honestly, with the pairing, I don't notice much of a difference, and no one else has as well as far as I'm aware. So I wouldn't rely on this as some crutch. It's not a really good skill. Then we got Maximum Might. It says that increases your affinity if stamina is kept full for a period of time, but they don't tell you how long. That period of time is 3 seconds. So once you go 3 full seconds where your stamina is full and you're not using it, then it'll kick in, you'll get the affinity boost, and after 1 second, like if you do anything like a dash or an evade, it's gone. And you gotta wait another 3 seconds to get it back. This is a really good skill if you're running longsword because you really don't use your stamina, you're just countering and doing fade slashes and stuff like that, so a fun skill. Then we got Mind's Eye. It says your attacks are deflected less and you deal more damage to hard targets, but they don't actually define what a hard target is in this game. Luckily, the Hunter Notes has the hit zones values for all the monsters. And if you look at it, this is actually affected by your sharpness. So a hard target, aka getting the white damage number, that's going to be on the Hunter Note. It's going to be a zone that has 33 or less. For blue, it's 37 or less. Green, 42 or less. Yellow, I shouldn't have even written here because you're not supposed to be hunting with yellow sharpness, but if you are, you shouldn't be. It's 45 or lower. I personally think that this is a majorly underrated skill. If you look at some of the endgame monsters and some of the other ones, like a 42 or lower for green, there's a lot of zones that are below 42. And 30% damage extra across all your attacks, that's not something to laugh at. That's a substantial increase in damage. Of course, if you're always just hitting the head, then don't worry about it. Move on. Okay, Mushroomancer. So this lets you digest mushrooms and use them like items. Just so you know, they're just mimicking other common items. So blue mushroom is like a potion, toadstool is like an immunizer, nitro shroom will give you +5 attack until you cart, parashroom will give you +15 defense until you cart, mandragoras will act sort of like a max potion, and you can hold like 10 of them, which is pretty nice. And excite shrooms act sort of like dash juice. Well, not actually like, they act exactly like dash juice. So fun skill, but a little expensive, so hard to run. Moving on, I apologize, I didn't think the video would be this long, but I guess just adding in one comment for this many skills adds up. So the next one is going to be grouped together. So normal, rapid up, pierce up, and spread up. It says that it slightly or increases or greatly increases the power of that type of ammo or that type of arrows. That is a 5, 10, and 20% boost for each. Next up is Offensive Guard. It temporarily increases your attack power after executing a perfectly timed guard. You'll notice a little effect that happens. Just so you know, this does work with the Sword and Shield's awesome Silkbind move, the Metsu Shoryugeki. The effect lasts for 12.5 seconds or so. I've tried to time it out. I know it's a weird thing, 12.5, but that's about what it seems. So you will get extra affinity, which is always nice. Next up is Paralysis Attack. This also is sleep and poison and all that stuff. This is the exact same note as I had on the Elemental Attack ones. It says that it has a maximum limit. It doesn't. Like, don't worry about that. Like, there's nothing that can hit the limit in the base game, at least as of update 3.0. And when they say paralysis build up +5%, I want you to understand that that's not the proc rate. Because when you hit with a weapon with a status, there's a 1 in 3 chance that it'll actually do the status. And then, so let's say you have 20 poison, 1 in 3 chance it does 20 poison, and then after you get X amount of poison, then it will inflict the status. So what this is doing is buffing up the value of that ailment on your weapon. I mean, yeah, essentially it does make it 5% faster to 10% faster to inflict the status, but it's worth noting that this is the value and it's not the proc rate. Next up is Partbreaker. This is a very, very fun skill. Just so you know, it doesn't actually do damage, like towards the HP of a monster, but it does count as sort of virtual damage towards breaking apart. So it's really great for breaking parts, getting items, especially if you're into capturing monsters and you want to make sure you break everything before you capture it. And sometimes breaking apart will make the part weak as well, so don't overlook the skill, it's quite fun. Next up is Power Prolonger. It doesn't really tell you how much it boosts the duration and for what. So for the longsword, you've got like sort of like the spare gauge glowing and not going down, you get a boost. The Insect Glaive, you have obviously your double and triple up effects. And for Charge Blade, you have charge states. That's a 10%, 20%, and 40% increase. And then for Dual Blades, which doesn't really matter since you're going to be in Arc Demon mode, whatever, But for switch axe, this is great. For the amped state, it's a 30, 60, and then 200% increase. So it doubles the time from 45 seconds to a minute and a half of amp state. It's great. Moving on, protective polish. I just want to note here that you can actually sharpen your weapon with your weapon out if you use the radial menu, the dial. So if you hold L and you press up, I think that's the default, it'll go to the thing. You can sharpen with your weapon out, and this is really good for all the weapons, especially ones that you can do that take a lot of time to put away, like Lance and Gun Lance. So I just wanted to note it because protective polish is a much more viable skill for a lot of weapons because of that feature. That was something that they added in Monster Hunter World. Next up is Punishing Draw. It says that it adds a stun effect to your draw attacks and slightly increases your attack power. It does tell you how much attack power. Just so you know, the stun is actually not that strong. At level 3, it's only about 20 to 30 stun damage. Depends on the weapon. I think if you go into the training room, the frog's head is like 90 resistance or something like that. It's pretty low, lower than most monsters. So it's really not going to be used to do a lot of KOs here, and the damage increase is very minimal, so I don't think the skill is going to get any use. If you do use this with like a hammer or horn or something that already does do blunt damage or stun damage, then it will add like a 10% increase in stun damage, but because we're throwing away decimals and we're talking about small numbers, it's not a big difference and it's not worth looking into. Recovery up. It says that it slightly increases or greatly increases recovery. What it should be saying is 10%, 20%, and 30%. Next one is Resuscitate. It does say suffering from an abnormal status, but it just means when you're inflicted with a status. So if you have Bubble Dance or the special Dragon Blight that you get from the Valstrax armor, which all work in your favor, those count as an abnormal status and you will get the attack boost. So, Wall Runner, it says that will increase your attack power temporarily by run walling with level 3. What that does is it increases your attack by plus 20 for 30 seconds. So it's actually a really good duration, but it does require you to like run on a wall, which I don't see people doing much during a hunt. Okay, moving over, this is the Ibushi and the Narwa, Wind Alignment and Thunder Alignment. They have a thing that says it grants great luck. It was translated as fortunate in the earlier versions of this game. Just so you know, it sounds like it's much better than the good luck skill, right? But I've looked through a lot of different people's testing here in Japan, more than I could possibly list in the contributions or anything like that, so I'm not going to. But watching everyone's data and my own, because I've tried, it doesn't appear to be any better than maybe level 1 or 2 of good luck. Like level 3 good luck will give you better consistent results than this great luck will, so it's a nice little bonus. It'll definitely guarantee that you'll get a 5th reward, but beyond that it's just a nice bonus. It's not huge. Next we have is Wirebug Whisperer. It says that extends the duration you can keep a Wirebug by 30%. In case you didn't know, you can keep a temporary Wirebug for 90 seconds, so this extends it to 117 seconds, which is very good. Level 2 will increase the Wirefall recovery rate by 30%. And then level 3 says it increases the passive recovery rate. This is when you're just standing on the ground, you're not in the air. What this actually does is increases the recovery rate for Wirefall even more. It's 45% faster, so you can use it more often, and it does recover the Wirebugs 20% faster. So running level 3 on this with something like a hunting horn or a hammer, so you can use those really big, 2 Wirebug attacks, is a very viable strategy, I think. Okay, we're almost at the end. I just want to go over the souls here. We have Magnamalo Soul. It says that increases the... This is a weapon rampage skill, by the way. It says that increases your attack when inflicted by Hellfire, which of course his armor will do to you. This is only a plus 12 attack when you're inflicted, so it's really not worth it. It's kind of helpful early in like low rank, like early high rank, but once you get into the game, like plus 12 attack is not gonna... It's nothing to write home about. I think you're better off probably increasing the blast or something else on this weapon. Next is Chameleos Soul. This is a really weird one. It says landing a hit will yield a small chance of boosting health, stamina, attack, or defense. So it sounds OP, right? Well, basically, it's like, I don't know, maybe like a 10% chance, but basically anywhere before you do like 10 hits, 10 attacks, you'll probably proc this. And you have about a 70% chance to get a heal, which is actually quite substantial. It's like almost half your health. Like your health bar, it's like 40%. And then you have like a 10% chance that you get plus 15 attack, a 10% chance that you get like plus 20 defense, or 10% chance that you get the effect of Dash Juice. These effects will last for 1 minute, and then it'll have a 1 minute cooldown where you cannot proc it again. So this is once every 2 minutes basically. you'll get one of these at random, and most likely it'll be a heal. So it's an interesting skill, but you should know how it works. Then we have Kushala Daora Soul. This affinity gradually increases when you continuously landing hits on foes. I think this undersells it. The weapons for Kushala, minus made a light bowgun because I really like that as a weapon, have really low raw, and one of the reasons it makes up for it is good sharpness and good element. But on the very first hit that you do, you immediately go up to 25% affinity. So basically, its weapons all have a natural 25% affinity so long as you give it this skill. And it lasts for 3 seconds, and if you hit in those 3 seconds, and from the 5th hit onward, it goes up to 30%, and then it stops there. That's the cap. So this is really good for weapons that hit a lot. Just consider Kushala weapons a 25% affinity if you attach this on, with the possibility of going up to 30 when you're aggressive. Then we have Teostra Soul, which says increases damage dealt by blast explosions. This is a 20% increase, just so you know. Depending on the monster, the amount of damage you do on a blast will actually change. But let's say it's like 100 damage every time it explodes, it'll be 120 and stuff like that. It also does give an increase for sticky in clusters. It increases those damage by 10%. Moving on, we have Stormsoul. This is the new skill, and this will obviously strengthen your Thunder and your Dragon Power, and also boost up the skills of the rest of the armor on the set. In case you didn't know this, basically this skill is meant so that you can mix and match Ibushi and Narwa armor as much as you want. And you'll always have 5 pieces, just different mix matches of which ones you want. And this will just ensure that you'll get +3 on everything. It does not work with decorations, it does not work with talismans, but it does work with other armor, although I've never seen anybody pull off a mixed set with this. I think it's pretty much meant to be used exclusive. Then we have the armor skills, the rampage skills I want to talk about, which is the Narwa Soul and Ibushi Soul. These had a really weird English when the game first launched, but they've now fixed them so that they're more accurate. It says both in Japanese and English that it just enhances the functionality of the weapon, but what it actually does is for Narwa weapons, for each piece of Ibushi armor you have on, it will get a boost in affinity. So you'll get 4, 6, 10, 12, and 40. 40% is a great increase, but using full Ibushi, I don't know. Maybe there's some good matchups I just haven't realized, but that's what that does. And this, I mean, these are just gimmicky. I don't think people are actually going to use these skills, but the Ibushi Soul says that it increases the functionality with each piece of Narwa armor you have on. And what they actually mean by that is it's a defense boost. So you get a defense bonus of 10, 15, 20, 25, or 30 if you have 5 pieces of Narwa armor on, which I don't think you will. And finally, as a bonus for sitting through a 30-minute video of me talking about skill descriptions, I can't believe this is this long, and I'm actually going to publish this. I want to talk really quickly about the rampage skills for the weapons, because the rampage weapons are very good and something I plan to make videos on. But some people don't quite understand what the sharpness types are and why type 1 is so popular. But what you see here, normal, is it's just a little bit of blue. With Handicraft 5, which is really hard to put on a set, it'll finally get 10 units of white sharpness. I don't think you'll ever do that. If you choose Sharpness Type 1, what makes this attractive is that it's got a little bit of blue, but for immediately when you put Handicraft level 1, it immediately goes to white sharpness. So you can run that with Protect Polish and just leave it there, and use Speed Sharpen and just have white the whole time. For every 90 seconds, you'll just sharpen once. Or if you want, you can buff up even more and just have substantial white sharpness to use. Type 2 gives you green. I guess you can try to run this thing with, like Bludgeoner, but honestly, the attack power boost they give you doesn't really equal it enough to make it any better than Type 1. And in fact, it doesn't make it as good. Type 3 is a personal favorite. Type 1, I think, will always be the meta, so to say. It's by far the most for your money, so to say. Like you'll get a lot of attack power out of that thing with less skills. But if you want comfort and you don't want to go that much down in attack, then Type 3 is great. It's just really long blue sharpness. So this is a comfort skill, really good if you're using a weapon where you don't want to sharpen, you don't want to deal with protective sharpness, and you just want that peace of mind, then go ahead for Type 3. I think it's a great choice. And Type 4 is a total trap. The amount of attack that they make you go down in order to get that white does not make up the difference at all. You're better off going blue with normal Type 1 or Type 3. It decreases it too much to the point where it doesn't mathematically make sense. In the moment you run out of white, you got barely any blue to rely on. So at that point, I don't know why you wouldn't just be using type 1, honestly, or any like type 3 even. As a final thank you, I guess, because I can't source all the different people I've pulled from. There's lots of Western and especially Japanese creators, channels, blogs, Wikipedias. Like, I've been sourcing information from my own testing and from a lot of sites. So I just wanted to say this is not all me. So a big shout out to the communities around the world who do all the research to try to find this stuff out. Stuff like the Wikipedias on Game 8, or the Koryaku recipe site, or the YouTube channel Minade Ishoni Mohan Life. This is a guy who does tons of just really tedious testing, and just really good, almost scientific like presentations about what a skill does and what he observes. A lot of these were invaluable resources, so thank you everybody for all that, and hopefully you found this video interesting. I'm sorry it went on for so long, but hopefully it clarifies the exact effect of a skill. If I forgot one, if there's a skill that's kind of vague and you want to know what it does or how long it lasts, let me know down in the comments below. Until next time, happy hunting.